We're going to continue our discussion on the heating element testing troubleshooting. We had talked about measuring voltage at the top of the contactor as well as at the bottom of the contactor whenever we're inside the cabinet, unless we're actually reading. Since we're talking about this and my fingers are going to be in there, I'm going to go ahead and shut the safety disconnect down. So what we're doing is the way we write all this out on our paperwork is, hopefully you can see this right here, is that I've actually got down here on my left-hand column what my readings are going to be. I've got idle and I've got load and load. Idle, what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've put down here what my idle voltage is. You can see my idle voltage based on whether or not it's T1, idle voltage at T2, what my findings are, and idle voltage at T3, and I record those in kind of a table format. My idle voltage I'm taking at the very top of this contactor right here, and that's basically with no power. With no load, with the heater contactor not engaged, so that's just idle power not being used. Then what I do is I go ahead and I turn on the heating element in the front of the machine with the toggle switch, engage that contactor, and now its contactor is closed. Now I can go ahead and read load voltage. Now my load voltage I actually read on T1, and I actually put the probe on T1, and then the other one on the ground, so I'm actually reading the ground, T1, T2, and then T3. And then on my paperwork, I put that down there. I've got my load voltage under T1, T2, and T3. What that does is it allows me to compare the line voltage versus the load voltage. Gives me an indication of what kind of condition the contacts are in that contactor, whether or not they're burnt, what kind of voltage drop we're having. And it gives me kind of an area to start in terms of troubleshooting if I'm having a voltage issue. And then we have our load amperage. Our load amperage is also based on T1, T2, and T3. So with the contactor engaged, I go ahead and I put my clamp meter right onto the wire, making sure that clamp meter is totally closed, and then I can go ahead and read my amperage reading. Obviously there's no amperage here because there's no power. So I do that on each one of those, and I record my findings based on whether or not it's T3, T2, or T1, and I put that down. So what we're able to do is develop a baseline of what the machine is supposed to be doing, and as time goes by, we can always compare that and get an idea of the condition of the electrical components. Sometimes you'll have a loose connection, a bad contact, or burnt contacts, a burnt fuse, etc. So this kind of information is invaluable. It has to be recorded and recorded properly and consistently. So refer back to this video when you get confused or forget, or ask your supervisor. Visit us at www.aefresno.com.